TLDR at bottom. So to give some context, I, F32, have been married to my husband, M39, for 4 years. I work a full-time job while he does a 3 times a week night shift. We have a 2-year-old and I'm 6 months pregnant. This whole drama started days ago. My husband has a large family. And on every Christmas they'd gather at his father's house. My father-in-law passed away a year ago and this year my husband decided as the man of the family to host Christmas at our house. Unbeknownst to me, he sent out invitations for a 5-day Christmas celebration to his entire family, which are about 26 members in total. I found out about by accident and I was too shocked to react. I confronted him on it and he said I shouldn't be surprised and just get used to it because after his father's death he's now the family's head and all major family events will be held in our house and in his presence. I freaked out and said no, this is wrong and he should have talked to me first before sending out any invitations to his family, knowing I have other commitments like work and taking care of the house and our son. He said we'll manage if I took time off work, but that means more workload later and it'd take away from my maternity leave. I demanded he cancel the invitations but he refused, saying over my dead body, then walked out. I ended up sending a mass text to everyone who received an invitation explaining that we will not be hosting Christmas this year. He found out and went off on me, calling my behavior outrageously appalling and said that I broke his word to his family and made him look small and with no authority. I in a very strict tone replied that I didn't sign up to host a celebration and accommodate 26 people while pregnant, taking care of a toddler and working. And I don't care if he became the head of family after his father's death because it means nothing to me. He took offense to that and walked out almost crying. He later talked about how I disrespected his father and him with what I said and demanded a handwritten apology for canceling the event and for being insensitive towards him and undermining his authority in front of his family, but I said no apology from me in any form and the issue is still up, especially with my mail giving me a stern talk about how out of line I was for disrespecting my husband's decisions regarding the holiday celebration with family. TLDR. My husband invited his family without telling me, so I cancelled and he wants a formal apology. ETA to put this out there, he planned on sitting and telling stories of his dad while I handle everything and his family believe that as guests it's rude to ask them to help. I, M32, have 2 older brothers, M38 and M40, and a sister, F34. Note the age differences. Our dad passed away 5 years ago in our hometown, a more suburban town in Wisconsin. Our family was relatively modest when my brothers grew up, so they were cared for a lot by my parents' families who are very conservative. My dad personally was not. By the time me and my sister were born, our dad's career was doing great and we were well off. Me and my sister have masters while our brothers didn't go to college despite the funds and chances. My mom had been trying to set my sister up with a churchgoer's kid. This didn't progress until around the time my dad died and my sister came back and helped with the funeral. My brother's families are both in town as well. I worked in tech in China then and live in SF now, and since the funeral have been mostly LC with everyone except my sister. Honestly, I was very close with my dad and there was obvious favoritism towards me which the others didn't like. So, my mom and oldest brother now technically live in my house. My sister somehow ended up leaving her career and moving back. She married the man my mom set her up with in 2019. I honestly was in shock at the wedding. I really didn't ever see my sister living on a farm and becoming a stay-at-home mom. I knew for a fact my mom and brothers had a huge part in this, because there were a lot of she's back home posts. Later I found out that she had pretty much given all her savings to her husband. Late 2020, my sister, straight out of the blue, started calling me and just chatting about things. I of course, love this. Early in 2021, my mom told me she was pregnant. I immediately asked my sister about this and she kinda broke down. In short, the husband has been abusive, she's broke and my family and her in-laws haven't helped. My oldest brother wailed at her about how his wife went through the same thing and my sister should stop thinking she's special. The first time she called me, he had kicked her out of their home for complaining about their finances. This was fairly common. This is where I basically yelled at her too. I told her that she had a career which she can still go back to and I can help her move back to NYC, where she studied before. And that the pregnancy wasn't the end of it and there were other options. The next day she asked me for $5K, which I sent to her without asking. I didn't hear much after and didn't intrude cause it was a total mindfuck. A month later my sister told me she had gotten a new job in NYC and filed for divorce. The pregnancy is also no longer on the table. Now my family has been blowing up my social media calling me all sorts of shit. I've in general called them shit back as well, and the home might be on the market soon. My sister needed to switch apartments and got a restraining order against her ex, and well, things aren't great, but I'm happy my sister is better. So Ada? Edit, I messed up a date and fixed some grammar. Edit, wow, I just woke up and did not expect a response like this. Thank you everyone, this helps a lot. I saw a couple of posts mentioned they had been in the same predicament as my sister, and I'd really like to say that you aren't alone. Please reach out to those you have ever been close to. I am fully aware the title sounds sexist, but hear me out, please. My girlfriend comes from a wealthy background and grew up with maids, chefs, chauffeurs etc. I was raised in a completely opposite environment and still adjusting to dating someone like her. When we're not with her parents, we spent a lot of time at one of her apartments. Here's the issue, my GF likes to walk around home barely wearing anything, which is fine, awesome even, but she does this even when they help her around. For example, last month her family hired a new driver for her. He stopped by the apartment to introduce himself. She was only wearing underwear. Keep in mind, this is the first time they've met in person. I felt awkward, he was visibly awkward, and she didn't give a shit at all. She was casually chatting to him while scrolling away on her phone. She does this all the time. She doesn't think she needs to wear any decent amount of clothes at all when people that work for her are around. She will casually walk around wearing just a thong or a tiny crop top, just a crop top, nothing else. She even does this with complete strangers. One time she opened the door for the delivery guy wearing only a see-through gown. You could see everything. Afterwards I talked to her about it and she was utterly confused as to why I felt uncomfortable. Then she laughed and told me to stop being a jealous baby. She even said that I'm unreasonable. We had another discussion about this yesterday and I told her that she probably wouldn't feel comfortable if I did the same. She said that she doesn't understand why I care what her staff think and that it never even crossed her mind that this is inappropriate. She told me that she only does this in the comfort of her home and not in front of actual people, that is people that don't work for her. She got kinda mad at me and vented to her friends. According to all of them, I'm weird for having a problem with this and an asshole for telling my GF to cover up. Somehow I'm the villain of this story. Am I really the asshole? It's a long and sucky story, but my 25F, soon-to-be ex, 28M, is gay and hid that from me. I found out because I caught him cheating and he as much as admitted that he knew he wasn't attracted to me that way, but he wanted kids and a normal life. I don't care that he's gay, but I will never forgive him for leading me on so he could use me to have kids, so it's over, end of story. The problem is that his family are fundamentalist nutjobs except for a few members, and his mother is the interfering mill from hell. Not being related to her anymore is another plus to leaving. His family doesn't believe in divorce, so under the guise of picking up some paperwork and other items I had found that were my ex's, she cornered me about how I'm being childish and marriage is about commitment, forgiveness, and working through problems, etc. It became apparent that my ex didn't tell his family that he cheated. He told his mom that I was divorcing him because we weren't having sex often enough for me. I tried to be patient and explained that he had cheated and that's why. I wasn't going to go into greater detail because I know how his parents are and it's none of their business. Mill's advice, I kid you not, was that men are just that way, and if I wanted to have sex more and for him not to stray, that I should make myself more attractive to my husband and be a better wife. I lost the plot completely. It had been a sad and hard day already and that was the last straw. Here's where I might be the I told her that the only thing that would make me more attractive to my ex would be a sex change operation and that I hoped he and his boyfriend adopted her some grandchildren so she could finally shut the hell up about it. Not my finest moment, but she just hit the worst and rawest nerve she could have and I exploded. It's evidently turned into a huge family drama. He's probably going to be disowned, and my ex called sobbing that I've ruined his life out of spite. I don't really know how to feel about it. I do feel bad for him that his parents are such awful people and there were just no good outcomes for him, but I also feel like he made his own bed here, too. Edit, a couple things from comments. 1. There is almost no chance of violence. His family are fundies but not violent ones, they're more of the Mormon shunning type. One of his cousin came out and left the church, and after the initial protests they all just stopped talking to him and basically treated him as if he were dead until he was ready to repent or whatever. They're passive-aggressive, repressed, and weird as all get out, but the chances of anyone physically hurting him are extremely low. He's not financially dependent on them and has a more than decent job, so he can support himself easily if they kick him out. 2. He's known he was gay since before he met me, so this wasn't a new discovery or admission to himself. He has a boyfriend that he's been dating since 6 months before we were married. I went through his computer after catching them in the act and kicking him out and found messenger logs and other evidence going back to before he started dating me. He literally set this up so he could have the nice Mormon family on the surface to keep his family happy. That's it. He never loved me at all, I was just the first girl to express a sustained interest. Update: www.reddit.com web link